Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am your host today, Liv Moods, and we will be joined by Brandon Krisztal in just a bit. But this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody, to another Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am Liv Moods. That is Liv Moods Jr. No, I'm kidding. That is Brandon Krisztal, aka BK, and we are going to talk a little bit of Denver Nuggets. I did a post-game live this weekend following their road game against the San Antonio Spurs, where they found a way to get it done in overtime. This Nuggets team this season, a few more overtime games than I would like to see, especially given who the opponents are that they are taking into overtime. However, they do have a 4-0 record, BK, in overtime this season. So one thing about this Nuggets team that we know to be very true, despite their very rocky season so far, is the fact that they do have that clutch gene about them. I think that we've seen them in many situations, many scenarios, clawing back in that third quarter, finding a way to get big wins, and doing it in kind of the final minutes of games, which is not a comfortable feeling for Nuggets fans, but it is the game that they play. It's the game that they know and love. But what we're able to see with a 4-0 record in overtime is that they are still a clutch basketball team. They can find a way. And, in the final minutes of a basketball game, if Nikola Jokic has the ball at all, I have a sense of peace about me, BK. I don't know if you feel the same, but, you just know with Nikola Jokic out there, any game is a winnable game. And we're going to need all of that on Tuesday night when the Boston Celtics, the current NBA champions, because they still have the title until somebody takes it from them, the current NBA champions in the Boston Celtics will be visiting the Mile High City Tuesday night and taking on this Denver Nuggets team. This is coming after a poor performance by Jamal Murray, I would say. We were seeing some excitement. We were starting to see some momentum by him, and now we're kind of starting to see him in his early season form, his last year's postseason form, his Paris form, and that's not what you want to see, especially knowing the type of teams that this Nuggets team has to face in the month of January. I've said it a few times on these post-game shows that we've been doing. 17 games for this Nuggets team in the month of January. 8 are at home, 9 are on the road, and most of the teams they face are above 500, the Celtics being one of them. It's going to take, I think, a very complete 4 quarters of basketball by this Nuggets team in order to get a win against this Boston Celtics team. But one thing that I saw, BK, that I really appreciated, I'm not sure how much of that fourth quarter you were able to watch for the San Antonio Spurs or in that San Antonio Spurs game on the road, but the Broncos, my God, the Nuggets really elevated their defense in that second half. I guess Coach Malone kind of got on him. This is embarrassing, which we know, I'm sure he said many times this season, given how our defense has looked.
Many times for the last decade.
Right. But they found a way in the fourth quarter. Defensively, that was one of their strongest quarters that I've seen this season. What are your thoughts on maybe the progression or what you still want to see from this Nuggets defense?
Well, I think you just want to see consistency, but they were the 8th best defense in the NBA last year. And when they lost, I get that some of those games felt weird, especially game 6 in Minnesota, but you knew they were playing better defense. And it did, I don't say it started with KCP, but it had a lot to do with him because he was kind of the tip of the spear and he could handle smaller guards, maybe better than Christian Brown does. The problem is if you're going to start Russell Westbrook, it creates matchup problems because of the way Jamal plays defense. Although Jamal has shown a willingness, and that's the thing. And we can go all the way back to Carmelo Anthony, and he played better defense down the stretch and in the playoffs when he wanted to. Carmelo came back from the Olympics the one year, and I'm going way back. I feel like Sean Payton is telling old stories. But he comes back from the 2008 Olympics and the Redeem team in Beijing, and he tells George Karl, I want to guard the other team's best player. And that worked for a game. And in game 2, Kobe and the Lakers came to town. And by the middle of that game, he was back to guarding the not best player. And I used to joke that Melo's favorite move or favorite just play on defense was just a point. Oh, that's your guy.
Yeah.
But point being, defense is about effort and it's about communication.
Yep.
It's a little tricky in that your last line of defense in Joker is an extremely smart defender. He's, the smartest
Right.
basketball player probably on the planet, not named LeBron at this point that's still playing. But he doesn't block shots away. His teammate, DeAndre Jordan, did for so long when he's starting games all those years with the Clippers, with the Nets. So it's hard when you're not a rim protector. You're not Rudy Gobert,
Right.
hanging out in the paint, waiting for your guys to close out on the perimeter and then get by you. But as Jamal pointed out when we talked to him after the Cavs loss, what can you do to make a team that's going to shoot all day and make threes, which is what you're going to see tomorrow to the highest level with the Celtics. Actually, I think take more threes than the Cavs. He said you can make them uncomfortable by being physical.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Celtics are better than the Cavs, at least personnel-wise. Donovan Mitchell, if you want to say he and Jason Tatum are the same, well, Jaylen Brown is better than Darius Garland. Derek White, Drew Holiday, KP when he's healthy, they can do different things, and they have a higher ceiling. That's why they're the defending champs. But making them uncomfortable in general, being physical, he's basically said foul them more, meaning use your fouls.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just foul to foul, make them work, because you're making them work to take 53s. They might not make 22 of them. They might make 18 of the 50, and then you're probably winning that game.
Right.
And so it's trending in the right direction because they've shown it more consistently.
Yep.
And they've won, what? If they'd won 11 of 13, they've won now 12 of 15.
Mm-hmm.
So they've won 12 of 15. If they do that the rest of the year, they're going to be a top 3 seed. And the most exciting thing about Saturday, and I'm going to credit our pal Vic Lombardi because he said this to me yesterday. We're sitting in the press box, and he said that Joker's has a supercomputer in his brain.
Yeah, he does.
And he figured out Wemby, and he goes, I guarantee the next time they play, and I realized he had 40 the night before and then 46.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he is going to destroy them offensively and score all day. He said that you could tell, like in the second quarter and into the third quarter, a switch flipped with Joker.
I mean, that's a defensive player of the year candidate that he was able to put 46 back-to-back 40-point games against a defensive player of the year candidate. And
look, Wemby's not on him the whole time. Zach Collins, but Wemby's presence
again is enough to disrupt a lot of talented players in this league, and Jokic didn't really seem phased. We do have some exciting news that I want to share with everybody that on the conversation of our defense being our weakness right now and that physicality being so important on a more consistent level. Aaron Gordon was able to participate in parts of practice today. We have a few of our Guerrilla Sports members over there giving us the 411 and also sending over some clips of some players talking after practice about, the Celtics game and how they're feeling and where they're at mentally. Aaron Gordon did participate in practice today, not the full practice. I'm sure he wasn't going full throttle, giving 100%, but they did see him out there. So you talk about defense needing to be more consistent. You talk about it needing to be more physical. Aaron Gordon is definitely a guy that when he's playing, that will be elevated. And so that is something that is exciting to hear. We don't have an official update on his status as it pertains to the Celtics game, and certainly not the rest of the season. We don't know where he's at. And obviously when you have a calf strain, you want to be very, very careful with that because it could lead to something much bigger. And you don't want to not have Aaron Gordon in a playoff run. He's way too valuable to this team. So I would say that is something to kind of look forward to, is just kind of keeping tabs on Aaron Gordon and where he's at. And we just know that will be huge. One of the things in the San Antonio Spurs game, despite them winning in overtime, that felt like it was lacking to me was rebounding. I think the night before that, both Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic had 18 boards. And then in that second game on the back-to-back, the second leg of the back-to-back, Victor Wembanyama was in, I think he had like 22, maybe even more by the time the game was all said and done. And Jokic didn't get more than 10. Wasn't able to get a triple-double, if I'm not mistaken. So rebounding to me was lacking in that matchup, that second back-to-back game against the San Antonio Spurs. And that is something that will look a whole lot better when you've got Aaron Gordon out there. So BK, let's just do a little, we won't be live.
Real quick, I want to stick on Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
Only because I like to react in press conferences. And at the same time, if there's something on my mind, I want to go in maybe at least with a plan. Like, I might ask that. Yesterday, I knew that Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles was going to get asked, but it hadn't been asked.
Right.
So I was ready to ask about those guys and Sean Payton. Well, Ryan McFadden from the Denver Post gets asked that question, or just happened to ask it. So then I have to shift and ask a different question. But I was going to ask about the consideration with the starting lineup of leaving Russ in when AG's back healthy. And to me, the most obvious candidate to move to the bench is Christian Brown.
Yep, I agree.
I'm not saying you want to do it. And Michael Malone, as much as you may love him, this is coaching 101. He goes, I'm worried about the next game. I haven't thought about that one bit. Well, that's a damn lie. Okay. And that's all coaches when they say,
of course.
I understand that they may not be looking too far ahead other than, how many games do we have at home? But knowing that the team is operating differently, that because of the pace with which Russell Westbrook plays, and it turns Jamal is probably at heart a 2-guard before he's a point guard.
Yeah.
He's a scorer. Now he can bring the ball up, but he is a scorer first. He's not a facilitator.
I agree.
Like James Harden has to force himself to get 15 assists, but he does.
Right.
Because he doesn't score the way. Steph Curry is still a scorer first. Even Russell Westbrook is kind of a scorer first. Not everybody is John Stockton or Steve Nash.
But with Jokic, he's doing a really great job of running that offense.
No question. And
from a facilitation
and they're
standpoint.
so good together, keeping their minutes together.
I agree.
Because Russ understands basketball on a different level that I think has surprised a lot of us, because it's easy when you don't watch Russell Westbrook every game. And no matter how many OKC games you watch, especially early on when it was KD and James Harden, but then all the way through the 8 years there, Houston, I'm going to discount, but whether he's with the Lakers and it not working, with the Clippers and it not always working, none of it, we didn't watch those games the way we watch 82 Nuggets games.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or 50 Nugget, whatever it may be. I don't think people realize, they just thought, Russ plays hard and he's going to attack the rim and he takes crazy threes. And that's that he takes crazy threes. It's that he doesn't shoot like Steph Curry.
Right.
Or Jamal Murray. So
right.
You're like, every time he shoots, they're open looks. Like he's not pulling up in transition double covered. But when he shoots the ball, you just don't have the same confidence as other pure shooters. But I don't think we understand. I don't speak for everybody, but I don't think I understood that his basketball IQ is as high as it is. And pairing him with Joker, it's going to be hard. You can't bench Jamal Murray. You're paying him $200 million. But you can bench Christian Brown, and you could bench Aaron Gordon, although I wouldn't.
Did you watch my post-game live the other night?
I did not.
We absolutely talked about this. I said, perfect world for me.
Not because I don't love you.
No,
I watched it on
my
phone for a second and I liked it.
Listen, sometimes we take turns covering the Nuggets sometimes because life can happen. And
I saw Sarah Silverman.
I was taken over. So we did talk about this. And I said, in a perfect world, here's the starting lineup. I don't know how you don't start Russ based off of what you've seen and the success you've seen with it. And to BK's point, the chemistry between Jokic and Russ, to me, is going to set this Nuggets team apart from the rest of the league. So I don't know how you don't keep Russ as a starter. You've got Russ as the point guard. You've got Jamal as a shooting guard, because like you said, BK, he kind of is shoot first, facilitate second. Sometimes that can appear as selfish basketball, but that really is his game. So have Russ at point. Jamal Murray is your shooting guard. MPJ is your small forward. Once Aaron Gordon's healthy and back, you've got him as power forward, and you've got Nikola Jokic as center. To me, I don't know how you argue against that starting lineup right now. And it is not to say that CB has not done a fantastic job in the role that he's been given. It is not about that. But this is a team sport, and I think if Coach Malone is smart, he's prioritizing winning games. And I think that starting lineup is the ticket to winning games for this Nuggets team. So I just don't know how you argue against it right now.
My concern will be the same as Michael Malone's, and it's just, what are you giving up defensively? And it may even be game to game.
Fair.
The Celtics are, because they start essentially 4 guards, they're not the best example, but let's go with a more traditional team. If you're playing Russell, let's use the Cavs. If you're playing the Cavs, and you're only going to see them at this point now in the championship, if you're playing them and your backcourt is Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, well, we know Jamal Murray's not guarding Donovan Mitchell very well, and Russ is giving up a little bit of size. The criticism of Christian Brown, and somebody else said this, I don't want to not give them credit, I just don't remember who said it the other day when we're sitting in the media room, is that there's a liability. Christian really can't guard smaller guards well. And KCP could, certainly not as well as KCP. KCP could get small when he needed to. Now, CB's a little bigger and maybe can guard bigger players a little bit better. But because Jamal is what he is defensively, and you're going to put him on the other team's point guard unless that player Steph Curry. It's kind of pick your poison. But if your offense is running even more efficiently, and the other thing too that we know is that Christian Braun will play whatever role you want him to.
Of course.
Internally, he might be a little like bummed, but I think he understands that, especially if they give him a new deal or if he gets a deal somewhere else, because we just know the economics of the NBA.
Yep.
He will be a starting shooting guard next year, very likely, or the
Yes.
year after, I guess, if Russ were to come back for a second year. But if Russ comes back for a second year, maybe it goes back to the way it was. It then gets interesting with your rotations. I could argue that you stick with this small ball lineup, and then Aaron Gordon's also your backup center, and you get creative that way.
There were some suggestions in the chat when I was talking about what the starting lineup in a picture perfect world would look like. And I did suggest that when Aaron Gordon is back and healthy, you don't just throw him into the mix right away. You kind of let there be a little bit of a transition period because, one, you want to protect his body. But two, I do think there is an element of Aaron Gordon coming off the bench and running that second unit. It could work. It could be really, really nice. I just think Coach Malone is now at a position where he's watched enough games this season and he's seen that there is absolutely talent on this roster. That is not up for debate. That there is talent on this roster. And forget everybody else, you have the best player in the world on your team. And like I said, when he's out there, you do feel like every game is winnable. That is the effect of Nikola Jokic. But I think we've seen enough games this season that Coach Malone can look at this team and start creating a strategy. I mentioned this on the show this weekend, Saturday, that there needs to be a strategic element to Coach Malone's rotations. And we don't always see that. But I think if he's got a strategy in place, and if you remove your emotions from it and you're willing to make some changes to your starting lineup, I think there's a world where you have what you need on this team to be a contender.
I think, and I'm not trying to be critical of you because, I'm happy to do that when given the opportunity. But that's a little unfair characterization in that to say there's not a strategy. It's that the strategy is constantly changing. And early in the year, I think that is maybe what you're dealing with, especially when you're mostly healthy.
Of course.
No AG, no Jamal Murray against OKC on a Wednesday night after they kicked crap out of you 2 weeks earlier to open the season or whatever night of the week it was. That's different than going out there with a relatively fully healthy lineup, especially when AG's back, and just kind of like, Hunter Tyson here.
I will say though, I think there's a lot of people that watch the Nuggets and one of their biggest concerns is if you just glance at the screen sometimes watching from home and you look at the rotation, you would think that the Nuggets are up by 35 and there's only a minute left on the clock. What it really is the Nuggets are down by 15 and there's plenty of time for them to get back in the game. So there are times it doesn't appear, it's hard to understand his strategy.
I think that's fair. And I'll shout out our friend Ryan Blackburn from Mile High Sports because he tracks the rotations and has it charted. It's a little too complicated for me to really try to follow game in, game out, but he breaks it down, I think, by half. And I think his Twitter might be at Blackburn NBA. I might be making that up, but you can look it up and check it for me. But the point being, Michael Malone isn't just showing up and winging it. There are coaches. I remember going back to when Eddie Sutton was at Oklahoma State, and my pal Doug Gottlieb, who played for him, was now having a tough time coaching at Green Bay, said that there were times where Eddie Sutton, who at that point was in his 60s, would forget guys on the, like you get lost in it. There are too many coaches in the NBA right now in general, like not too many. There are too many to lose players. So not only does Coach Malone have whoever's got the defensive scout in his ear, there's 7 other coaches that are like, okay, they're tracking everybody's minutes. They've got the performance that, the tracking literally their movement on the court, all of that to lose a guy. If you wanted to play Zeke Najee more tonight, you're not going to forget, I forgot I was going to play Zeke.
Right.
It's dialed in game to game and changes on the fly, not necessarily quarter to quarter, but half to half. And maybe third quarter to fourth quarter. That it's easy to see that, and I'm not trying to say, we know more about basketball. The untrained eye could look, and it could be exactly what you just said. We're like, what is this lineup? But some of it may be who's in foul trouble, who's played too many minutes, or where are we at with Joker's minutes over certain nights, or what's going on in this guy's head. I had a conversation with him and his grandma's died. Like there's variables that we don't know about.
Of course.
To think that they're just kind
I'm
of
not saying I could do it better, by the way.
but they're also
at all.
not just winging it or throwing a bunch of shit against the wall to see what sticks. I think that there is an element of that in the first 10 to 15 games. We're not 30 games into an 82 game season, or 33, whatever that number is, 35 games in. They're now just tweaking, okay, what works best and how do we maximize every part of these rotations, and also make sure that we do get Zeke Najee in the game here and there, and Hunter Tyson, so that when they are called upon, when so-and-so's down,
right,
it's not just, hey, you haven't played in
I think
6 months. It's because not everybody is. Was it Jeremy? Which Holiday was here? Not Drew.
Justin
Holiday. Not everybody's Justin Holiday who can go, or DeAndre Jordan for that matter. But Justin Holiday is a better example. Justin Holiday would literally go 10 games without playing. Then he might start,
right.
or he's one of the first wings off the bench. But he's also 10 years into his career and had played that role other places. That's hard when you're a young player. Yes, you got to be ready. Yes, this team is really good. They're the champs 2 years ago, playing the defending champs tomorrow night. But it's going to always feel like a work in progress until you are locked in with 8, maybe 9, and sometimes 10 guys, and their minutes. We could look at, without even looking at the box score, we could tell you what everybody's minutes are based on the last 5 games or the last 10 games. And you don't usually get there until March or April, if you're healthy. And until Aaron Gordon's healthy, we won't. And then I do think he will experiment. So that's obviously a long rant on how it goes for Michael Malone, but I think he's just still kind of in that let's mix and match and see what works.
I think it'll be very telling when Aaron Gordon is fully healthy and he's got all of his guys to kind of solidify that strategy that you mentioned. I don't doubt that Coach Malone doesn't have a strategy. I don't think he's just out there winging it every single night. But what I will say is I do think there is a lot of elements involved in the emotional piece of all of this. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of guys on this team that have proved they can handle that starting position when Aaron Gordon's out or Jamal's out. And so when you get Aaron Gordon fully healthy and you're still choosing not to play a Peyton Watson, not to start a Russ, when the numbers are there, the proof is in the pudding on how well this Nuggets team has performed with Russ as a starter. So it will be interesting, the decisions that he makes once Aaron Gordon is fully healthy, because I do think that will be very telling. I just think there's a lot of concern from Nuggets fans about what his strategy is at times. Again, that is not to say that I would call a better game or have better rotations for this Nuggets team, but sometimes it feels like the answer is right in front of him and he's skirting around it and trying something new. So I will let's talk a little bit of betting. Let's talk a little bit of betting in regards to this. I actually don't know if there's lines even available because I don't know if the Celtics play tonight. But we're going to talk some betting, and this segment is presented by Landmark Lincoln. If you guys have not checked out Landmark Lincoln, you can actually go to check them out, see why they've been Colorado's #1 trusted Lincoln dealer, corner of Bellevue and Broadway. But this segment is brought to you by our friends over there. And there is an all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. Mouthful. You can go to landmarklincoln.com to see the latest offers and incentives and see if you qualify for no payments for up to 90 days. If you need a new whip, check out our friends over at Landmark Lincoln. BK?
I'm not in the market today, but I might be tomorrow.
Maybe sometime soon.
And I think the first place I'm going is Landmark Lincoln to check out the new Corsair GT. So
I'm not quite ready for a mom car yet because I do not have children. But when I do, that Corsair definitely is.
I do want my next car to be at the very least a hybrid or full blown electric. I'm ready to go there.
You ready to go to the electric side?
I think so. I think it's insulting to call this car a mom car. The Corsair GT.
Why does everybody think mom car is an insult?
Well, I think it's pretty sick. If you like it
is. But why is a mom car all of a sudden an insulting term?
You immediately go to minivans.
Trust me when I say
station wagons.
Trust me when I am talking about a mom car, it is a sexy ride. The windows are tinted. There is no minivan that will be pulling into my garage.
We have a 2016 Suburban that is my favorite car I've ever owned, period. That I never thought I'd say that out loud. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna drive
I
that
don't
thing
think
until
mom
I
cars are
drive it into the ground.
in my brain, a mom car is just a size. Like right now, I'm driving a tiny, cute
Yeah, it's cute.
Mercedes.
yeah.
I will not be able to put car seats in that. So to me, a mom car is just like
Cool brag.
upgrading to a.
Hey, I got a Mercedes. Great. Look at
Shut
me.
up.
I got a
You have
Mercedes.
one too in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's my wife's.
So shush. But anyway,
Both cars are my wife's. The Suburban has a license plate that says Ski Mom on it.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
so I'm like, yeah,
But no,
I'm a
mom
Ski
car
Mom.
to me is more just an upgrade in size. So I do not mean that offensively. This Corsair is beautiful. It's a very sexy car. And I will, once I need more space for children, I will get a Corsair and maybe join BK on the hybrid side of the car life. But that's neither here nor there. We do have a betting segment presented by Landmark Lincoln that we're going to get to in a moment. But for now, we do want to hear from Coach Malone at practice today, I believe. We were spending some time talking about him, his strategies, his rotations.
What's the latest on AG?
What's the latest on AG? I will say I did see on social media AG is ruled out for tomorrow night, despite being involved in practice today. But let's hear from head coach Malone from today's practice.
Can you take us through that moment? That just happened. They bring in that jersey for you. What you think when you see it? Where's it going to hang? All the things.
Oh man, I have no idea. It's really cool, obviously, and for it to happen on a day where both Stan and Josh are here, and for them to say congratulations, I'm like, congratulations, man. I just say thank you for allowing me to be here. And I always go back to the game '82 in Minnesota, where 95 of any sports team owner would have fired me. But as Mr. K said, he goes, we understand that this is always a process, and you have to give things the time they need to fully develop. And that's a direct result of that kind of sound judgment and a belief from ownership. But yeah, Cal and Booth have that made, so obviously really appreciate the gesture. It came out really nice. I guess I'll have to get another one made when I'm done that says like 1,273. Hell no. But yeah, really nice, really cool. I have to figure out where to put it.
Were you holding your breath after that game 82?
No, not at all. Because I knew that with the team we had in Game 3, my relationship with Tim Connolly, the front office, my relationship with both Stan and Josh, we had won 46 games, and we went up to, that was like the original play-in game before the play-in.
Right.
And they had, as a franchise, Minnesota got all in with vets, and we were playing two young puppies in Nicola and Jamal, and we wound up losing in overtime. But as a coach, you just have to do your job and trust yourself and rely upon your principles. And one day when you come to work, your key's not going to let you in. That's just, it happens to every coach, and that's part of this business, unfortunately. But if you can go home every night, look yourself in the mirror and know that you've done your best as a coach to help this team, help this franchise, then you can live with yourself, regardless of the decision. But I don't ever second guess everything. I'm just really thankful to be here, because not many sports teams are ran and have ownership like we have here. And I'm a direct beneficiary of that.
It seems pretty fitting that that's the way it was given to you. I mean, even after you passed the mark and you came home, it was just an announcement on the PA, and that was it. And then here, you're just sitting there hanging out, and then boom, here it comes. Is that just kind of how you want to just fly under the radar and just keep racking up more wins? You don't want to make a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I learned this from my father. As a coach, it's never about you. It's cool. It's great for them to recognize it, but it's about our players. That's my job as a coach, to have a great coaching staff, to have great players, but I never want it to be about me. I want it to be about our team. I want it to be about our players. I want it to be about our coaching staff and the great coaches that I have, but that's just me. For me, that's just me doing my job in 10 years and having tremendous players who put me in that position. But yeah, I don't need the song, the dance, the bells and whistles. I like less is more.
Looks like Aaron Gordon was in practice gear today. Was he able to go through parts of practice? Any update on him?
Yeah, he was definitely able to go through parts of it. I think he's definitely trending in the right direction. What does that mean? Obviously, more importantly, when will he be back? We're going into a back-to-back, another 3 and 4 here at home. I don't know. He won't play tomorrow. I'm not sure about the Clipper game or the Brooklyn game. But all I know is that today was a positive day. a step in the right direction. I asked him as he was going through practice how he felt, and he said he was feeling really good. So hopefully when he wakes up tomorrow, because this is the most he's done in a while, when he wakes up, hopefully he's feeling just as well.
We've heard you talk about Russ's voice as a leadership, but how valuable is the example he sets with just like the energy he plays with on a nightly basis?
Well, not even just the energy he plays with on a nightly basis, but even on a practice like today. I've been in the league a long time. The toughest practices are after an off day. You had a back-to-back, you had an off day, you come into the gym, we're going into a 3 and 4, so now you're trying to herd cats to get these guys to understand the urgency and importance. And when you have a guy like Russ who's going to lead with his voice, but also like he's your hardest worker in practice, and he's doing everything with details and holding other guys accountable when they're not. You can't put a dollar sign on that. That's so invaluable for a team with as many young players and impressionable players as we have. So, constantly grateful and thankful for everything that Russ is doing for us on and off the court.
The discrepancy in kind of shot diet between you guys in Boston was a thing before this year. Maybe it's a little more extreme now with the way that they're getting threes up, but you guys were able to hold them below their average makes in both of those wins last season. What are the keys in terms of trying to limit them on the three-point line?
Yeah, obviously, I'll be honest, I think no matter what you do, they're going to get 53s up. I really believe that. They're 19 of their 53s they take are off the bounce, so they're shooting pull-up threes in transition. They're shooting pull-up threes in pick and rolls. That is their thing offensively. We're going to just get a lot of threes up. They started off really, really hot. The last 17, I think, are 10 and 7. And they shoot the same number of threes and makes in wins and losses, but the percentage is much different. So, point being, they're going to get 50 up. That's just how they're wired. But I think that it's the quality of three that they get up. You cannot be down the floor inside the three-point line in transition. In pick and rolls, you cannot be down the floor. Give Tatum, Brown, Pritchard, Holiday, White, easy walk-in threes. You can't beat yourself in transition. You can't give them offensive rebound, kick-out threes. So we just have to make sure we're not giving them the quality looks over and over and over again, to be disciplined within our coverages, and knowing that we'll have to change throughout the course of a game because they are an offensive, firepower, and we'll have to give them different looks throughout.
I know every roster is a bit different, but your deployment of Russell Westbrook this year and spot starts, closing, it kind of reminds me of how you guys use Bruce Brown. I don't know, do you see any similarities there and what they bring to the team in just the versatility and the lineups you can put together?
Well, to your point, Bruce was a guy that we brought off the bench, and when we had injuries, we throw him out there. We've done that with Russ. Russ started the year coming off the bench. Unfortunately, Aaron Gordon's missed 17 of our 34 games. So Russ has started a lot of games for us, and he's played a lot of different positions. And even when he's not starting, to your point, he's a guy that I'm going to have out there end of games because I trust him on both ends to make the right play and to have the wherewithal to go out there and get a timely stop. I can definitely see the comparisons in those two, the versatility, the toughness, and their ability to play with and off of all the guys around them, namely Nikola and Jamal. Russ's combination, two-man efficiency with Nikola Jokic has just been spectacular.
How did he earn that trust with you?
Well, from far, for 17 years, you're watching his body of work and coaching against him for so many years. And then you couple that with all the film work we did this summer when we talked about bringing him in. And I think when I mentioned it back on Media Day, a lot of guys go, Russell Westbrook defense? And they used him as a late game closer last year on the other team's best player a lot of nights. And we're doing the same thing. So it's through watching him, through studying him, and just through the impact he's had here. And he gets the respect of the officials, and he has a high IQ, and he's going to leave it on the floor. You know me, Katie. I want competitors. I want guys that are going to give a second effort, a third effort, a fourth effort, whatever it takes. And here he is, 17 years in, still playing just as hard as he did when he was a rookie, which is just truly incredible.
We've asked you before about, when you played the Cavs, about it being a measuring stick game because of where they are in the standings. Is it the same thing when you have the defending champs coming to town?
Yeah, of course. We went through that last year, right? Bullseye's on your back. Everybody's going to get up to play you. Well, Boston has that this year. And we know how talented they are. They're fully healthy, which they haven't been a lot of this season. And they're going to throw a lot of things at us. So Yes, I think you always want to measure yourself against the best. We struggled with Cleveland. We beat OKC earlier in the year, gave them their first loss, and tomorrow's another chance to play against one of the elite teams in the NBA, and hopefully we can build on being 4-1 in our last 5. Hopefully we can build on being 9-4 in our last 13, and just finding that consistency, which has been somewhat of an issue for us this year. But I like where we're at. We know we have a tough month. Boston's going to be a great challenge for us, and I think our players are looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
Always great to hear from Coach Malone.
Pretty cool. They gave him the framed jersey. You got
Yep.
both Stan and Josh. Well, you would think they'd be around a lot. They have a lot going on.
Of course.
And Josh runs the day-to-day with the Nuggets and Avs. So he's maybe not in LA as much as Stan is, but Stan with the Rams. He's in LA more. Josh is also more involved with Arsenal and is in London a fair amount. So they just aren't in Denver a lot. But with the defending champs in town, the Rams will play next Monday, so I'm sure they'll both be at that game. You had both of them in the building, Josh and Calvin, though, presenting it to Michael Malone, the framed jersey. You can see it up on our Guerrilla Sports social channels for setting the franchise mark with wins, passing Doug Moe. And so a cool moment. And that's where Coach started off the top, that they stuck with him and believed in him. And I think that's the same thing that fans should be doing, because like you pointed out, they've won 9 of 14. We said 12 of 15. Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Or 9 and 13. I'm sorry. 9 of 13, 12 of 15. We were 5 or 6 games in when people were getting ready to fire him
Mhm.
on our versions of this show and post game and all of that.
Mhm.
He's a good basketball coach, and he has good players, like you said, and they're going to be ups and downs. Not everybody's going to go 22-4 out of the gate or whatever
Right.
they did in Cleveland, but they'll be just fine, and they have the best player in the world. So it'll be a fun one tomorrow with the Celtics. Then they get Norman Powell and the James Harden-led Clippers the next
Oh my
night, back-to-back
gosh.
home games.
Yep.
If you're heading down to Ball Arena, you got 2 nights in a row. And by the way, Denver can become the city of champions, or at least champion killers. You beat the champion Chiefs, defending champion Chiefs yesterday. You got the defending champion Panthers tonight. Maybe they beat them. Nuggets beat the Celtics, and Denver is unofficially the town of champions, or officially the town of champion killers if they win all 3.
I love that. Okay, so our Landmark Lincoln segment is our betting segment. So let's talk just really quickly kind of what you predict. We don't have lines available just yet, but what do you foresee happening? Do you want to predict where you think the line will be in this game?
Odds are, because of how well they've been playing, the Nuggets are a half-point favorite, 1-point favorite, 1.5. I guess you could see it potentially the other way with the Celtics, but it won't be more than 2 points, I think, either way. And I think it's going to be a close game. We know the Celtics are going to shoot all day and all night. So knowing that, whether you're on FanDuel Sportsbook, your favorite app, or any of the other ones, they're going to set the lines on made threes high, especially here where the Nuggets have been suspect defensively at times against really good 3-point shooting teams, namely the Cavs in both places. So you might want to look for some value there. They don't really have a real center to bother Joker. I mean, you've got the Al Horfords of the world and KP and guys like that. So
Which is interesting, because they do allow, I'm looking right now at their numbers.
The Williams kid, but
the 5th fewest points, looking at the whole season so far, the 5th fewest points to opposing centers, the 3rd fewest rebounds to opposing centers, and the 2nd fewest assists to opposing centers. So I don't know. I mean, again, taking an under on Nikola Jokic feels like maybe the stupidest thing I could ever do, especially given the way he's been playing lately and what he was just able to do against a defensive player of the year candidate in Wemby. But it appears they've done a decent job at slowing down centers. However, those centers are not named Nikola Jokic. So
yeah, they do have the two. So Horford and KP are both considered centers,
right.
But then they do bring the 2 kids off the bench that are splitting about the same amount of time. The kid Keita and then Luke Gornett, and they both play about 16 minutes a game. So that is just big bodies, 7-1 and 7-3. So I think that I mean, KP's not going to, if Porzingis was on Joker the whole game, he might get a block on him, but Joker would score 50 on him.
Yeah, I don't think he'll disrupt him too much.
And Al Horford is crafty, but Joker would also find ways to score on Al Horford. So I think it's about the combination of all that. And they do play good team defense, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
Is that with that length, even though it's, they're long guards, if you will, Tatum, Brown, they're going to make things hard on Joker. So on an opposing interior, I guess, scorer, if you will, at times. But again, Joker's got that supercomputer that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I like all of Joker's overs, whatever they end up closing in at. And then I'd keep an eye on Derek White back home. Derek's played pretty well of late. I've got him on my fantasy team, and he gets plenty of opportunity to score the basketball and be a part of what they're doing. So I'd look to go over on Derek White's scoring and maybe assists.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Well, this has been another episode of Off Court, Guerrilla Sports Off Court. I'm Liv Moods, that's BK, and it's presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Head to trustedamerican.com, see how they can help you save some money, see if you qualify for some incentives, lower your monthly payment, lower your interest rate. They are here to help you out and help you save some money. So go to trustedamerican.com, and or if you're watching, scan the QR code that is right above my very large forehead, and we will have you covered. BK is going to help out with tomorrow's Celtics game, and then I will be doing a post-game live show both on Wednesday and on Friday following the Nuggets games. Hopefully, we have lots of positive things to talk about as it pertains to the Denver Nuggets. So thank you so much for tuning in to another Guerrilla Sports Off Court. We'll see you very, very soon.